What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder. And today I got another amazing guest on the show. As always, Adam Rude. Welcome to the show, man. You're with KW Elevate Luxury Real Estate. You're doing big things in the Naples market. And I really want to highlight your leadership too. You and I met at a Real Producers event.
Sure did.
We talked for a while, and I was very impressed with what you're doing. And I mean, you've probably since that event come a long way too. So excited to have you on, man.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got a heck of a background. We're going to get into that. But before we get into that too, you guys know the routine: like, share, comment, subscribe. Go on, check all past episodes on YouTube and all the audio platforms. With that being said, let's kick it off. The Real Build is about building better culture, leaders, visionaries, community to better serve the client. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder, and I'm here to showcase real business owners building companies with integrity, trust, and a commitment to making a positive impact. Join us as we explore their stories, insights, and strategies for success. With that being said, welcome to The Real Build. All right, let's go on. I want to start with your background, man, because I think that's important. I've obviously read into what you do, and just very impressive. So talk about Adam. Who is Adam Rude?
Simple guy, Midwest blue collar family. I have two brothers. I'm the middle of three. Been an athlete my whole life, so sports is definitely a big part of my background, and just even believe in the fundamentals of it, especially having three kids now, two boys, 9 and 11, daughter 13, and competitive soccer players, go figure, and then a competitive dancer. But, I really attribute sports to a lot of the success in my professional career just because, it gives you those life skills, the discipline, the work ethic, dealing with adversity, teamwork, communication, like all of those things really add up to the person I am today. So, I was blessed to have played pro soccer for 4 years. Didn't have the most illustrious career, but you know what? I made it there. I had fun, paid for my college, met some amazing people, got to travel, and truthfully, I feel like it really, in hindsight, set me up for the next stage of my life.
I want to go into that a little deeper, man, because I'm an athlete as well. I didn't play pro. I went into college and played Division I football, but it was a big part of my life, especially just what you go through. I mean, the consistency of having to show up. I think it helps us learn, timelines too, right. Getting up early, having to work out, having to do the things we had to go through. Your whole life was that sport that you played, clearly, but it also, I think, taught leadership, and I really want to highlight with you your leadership, because growing what you're growing now and being in the position you are is huge. I mean, it's not easy being a leader. No. It really isn't. There's a lot to it, and in real estate too, we don't really talk about that angle of real estate. I've had a lot of great realtors on here. They got a great team, so on. But I think you're responsible now for about 80-something people now.
Correct,
so
yes.
That's a lot to handle. Talk about that a little bit, like how you got into the leadership side with KW Elevate, and let's hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, leadership's always been important to me. I think... you talk about being an athlete, and to achieve the things at that level, it's, we talk about motivation a lot, right? And motivation can be fleeting, and that's where the discipline, because there's days you wake up or training, or whether it's with the business, you don't want to do it, right? Mm-hmm. But it's showing up still knowing that you're going to still show up and do the work, right? And I think that's where people lose sight is, I'm a motivating guy. I love trying to inspire people in my world, and I think I do a pretty good job of that. But at the end of the day, it's a temporary fix, until we really have the discipline to keep showing up day after day. You won't hit those levels of growth and success that most people want in not only life but business. But to your point with KW, I've been in the business 17 years. My last year playing soccer was 2008. Moved down here Labor Day of 08. Got my license right away. I was that guy somehow. I was naive back then too. I didn't realize the nature of the crashing market and the economy, the Great Recession, right? So all I knew how to do was put my head down and start working. My first month and a half, I had a pretty big sale, a $1.1 million sale. And that kind of just was like, wow, all right, I could do this, and never really looked back. I sold 12 homes my first year, which the volume back then was a lot different than it is today. But it's only gotten better since then, and I've really seen every facet of real estate, from being an agent to being on a team to helping run a team to running a brokerage. I was our board president last year for Bonita Springs and Estero. Which I never saw myself doing that, but a very fulfilling part of it. And going back to the leadership, though, I don't know if I ever planned on just being in a leadership role. It just kind of naturally evolved over time, from the sports to being a highly competitive player. People looked up to me, and I always kind of paved the way. But being a good leader isn't really about you in front. It's about pushing the others in front of you. Is kind of the way I've always thought of it too.
It was so good right there. It 100% is, I think, I always talk about with our company too, we're building leaders. That's what we're doing. We're a leader building other leaders, right? And leadership's from the bottom up, right? So it's you in that aspect of it, it's you want to find people that truly have that drive, that motivation that you just talked about, that want to get up, want to do the things that, they don't want to do on a daily basis. And you can teach that to people. You can't, I don't think you can teach drive. I don't think you can teach, that motivation, but you can teach people how to sell real estate too. So going into that, I want you to kind of talk about your team and how you form that too. Or when people come in, with so many realtors in this town, so many realtors, how do you find the best of the best? How do you, being in sports, being an athlete, it's the same kind of with our company too. I really want to find great people that just are motivated, that want to be a part of a vision, want to be a part of something, that they can grow with something, right? So how are you doing that with real estate?
Well, you said it. You're looking for great people, right? It's definitely quality over quantity in our world. We take a different approach to it, though. Everyone wants to. Real estate is one thing. It's a relationship business. You can teach the skill set to be good at real estate. But, we start with culture. When somebody comes to us, it has to be the right fit. Abundant mindset, positive, collaborative, team player. Those are the kind of people we're looking for. And we start, what I've learned too is most real estate professionals do not run their business like a true business. True. So one of the things we do out of the gate is, on Wednesday, I was blessed to hear Simon Sinek, the author, amazing guy, start with why. We go through exercises where, what really drives you as a person, because, we kind of prioritize our faith, our family, then our business. Because if those first two aren't in line, generally you're not going to get the output you want in your business. So, for us, that foundation is instrumental to the success in our world. And you know what? If you're not the right fit, that's okay. There are plenty of options out there. But, we want to stay true to the culture we've built and attract the right people. And I know what we have is pretty amazing. So it's only a matter of time that we keep attracting the right people.
I wanted to highlight that on culture, too, because I think it's an important thing. You just said, you have the right people, and then some people aren't the right fit, right? Sure. And figuring that out, I think, is hard for teams. I think especially in the real estate side too, because real estate's a numbers game, right? And a lot of people, I think, just put people on their team to fill these numbers, and they're like, give me, but a toxic person or a toxic person that's added to the culture could really crush the rest of the team too. So what you're doing, having 80 something people, having those core values, having all that, just everything you said, the leadership, great people, I think that is so rare in real estate too, just because you look around this town, there's great teams, don't get me wrong, but then there's also that's just, let's stack the numbers. Right. So
yeah, it's definitely not our approach. I think if you talk to anybody in our world, they would have some positive feedback and really like the environment, from our, weekly trainings we do on Thursdays to our monthly meetings that we do every third Monday of the month to, a lot of, we do a lot of little mastermind sessions too. And it's just, it's such a good, healthy environment, energy to be around. And that's what we want. I think business is one thing, but you spend a lot of time together in the professional world too. And it's like, you have to enjoy the people and the environment you're around, because if you're not happy, how can we consult you into doing your very best in the real estate business if the foundation of you as a person isn't feeling the connection and the fulfillment you should get out of a good culture and environment?
Yeah, I love it, man. One thing I want to backtrack with you too, I wrote this down because we relate a lot too, is you said you were naive when the crash was happening.
Very much so.
I was in car sales at the time and I was young. I didn't know what a stock market, I really never checked the stock markets. I didn't care. I was just there to make money. I was young. I was, hungry, and I had a lot of success in it. I wanted to highlight that mindset though, because I think a lot of people, they steer towards the news and the doom and gloom quite a bit. And that, what you just said, is a prime example of you not even thinking about it. You're selling a $1.something million home during a
bad market.
A bad market. Went on for, I think, 8 years of being a top producer, right?
Correct.
And it's just impressive when a lot of other people would have said, the market's crap, the market sucks, things are slow, times suck. You hear that, and you kind of hear that. I mean, I've heard it now from people, the market's slow. I think when you say those things, it puts it out there that your mind and everything, it's going to be slow. It's going to be what you say. So I just wanted to point that out, what you said about that, because I was the same way, but on the car side, I was selling multiple cars during a slow time. I had no clue things were crashing. No clue.
Ignorance is bliss.
I just kept selling stuff, and everybody's like, he's doing really good. I'm like, yeah, man, and everybody else is on their phones looking at the stock market and stuff like that. So I think talk about that a little bit, is like on your angle with your team. Keeping a positive mindset is such a huge thing, especially in what you're doing too, because you're the captain of the ship, right? Mm-hmm. You want to keep everybody in a positive mindset. If things are bad, you have to stay with a straight face no matter what. And you have to figure out different avenues and different directions to go and pivot as well. So
Always.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, a lot to unpack there. Look, mindset, first and foremost, is so important, right? How you think is going to correlate to your behavior, to your actions. And there's no shortage of FUD in this world. And the market's crashing, or you'll hear the foreclosures are coming back, or at one point not long ago, Wall Street Journal put out Cape Coral, worst market in the United States. Well, they also had the biggest run up from 2020 to 2023 than any other market, right? So of course they're going to come down and correct a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's what you fill your bucket with, and mindset, attitude, positivity. We have a saying in our world, like, we control our success, not any market or circumstance. Mm-hmm. It's us showing up for ourselves, staying focused on the disciplines of what we can control. I was at the gym this morning at 5, talking to 2 gentlemen I know about the same exact thing, because they're, of course, naturally asking about the market. And it's, even more so these days, it's that 90% of the business is done by the top 10% of the real estate professionals, and it might be even more skewed than that. And it's like, why is that? Well, real estate may have been perceived as easy over the last 5 years when it was a low inventory market. People were flocking to Florida. Listings, we couldn't keep them on the market fast enough, without 10 offers coming in. But now you're back to the work, the sweat equity, bringing value to people. The fortune is in the follow-up, building relationships. I tell our agents all the time, if you can't provide value beyond what the internet can help somebody, research and learn, why do they need you? We're supposed to be the experts, the consultants, providing that hyperlocal knowledge. So these days, it has gotten, I guess, a little more difficult, but at the same time, it's no different than how we've been training our whole lives, essentially, even from an athlete to the real estate business. You show up, you're prospecting, you're building relationships, you're out there networking, and you stick to those things. In the end, it'll all work out, because it's the disciplines that get you there, not any market. And in any market, there's going to be a top producer, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the way I like to look at it.
It's such a good point, man, because I think like you just said, when COVID hit, the madness happened. You literally, I think everybody went and got a real estate license. Even the cashier in the grocery store was a realtor.
And probably sold some property.
It probably did. All you had to do is turn on the lights. And it was just crazy. But now it's come back, and I've been doing real estate myself for 16 years now. And when I first started too, it was a slower market, but I had that naiveness to me too, to where it was, I didn't care. I'm just going to sell what I can and it doesn't matter. But going back into it too, like bringing value, I want to touch on that. I think that is so important. And I want to highlight that with you. Like what does bringing value mean in the real estate world? Like, what are you doing extra? What should people be doing besides just recording videos or dancing around houses? Or, you see a lot of video now, which is great. It's a part of real estate. But I think there's a lot more to it too, and it's like my business. It's a relationship business too. I'm big on the long game. That's what I always say. Play the long term. Especially in construction too. We talk about 31 years, not one lawsuit. Why? Because we take care of everybody no matter what. Even after the build, we still take care of them. So talk about it with what you're doing.
No, I very much believe in that. A client early in my career told me, Adam, you take care of people in life, everything else will fall into place, including the paychecks, right? That's, at the end of the day, what we're here for. But, look, for me, real estate is simple. It is a relationship business. It's first and foremost, making a connection, being authentic, be you. Like, we don't need to be someone we're not. That's what I love about real estate. There's so many ways you can be successful, whether through social media or events or open houses or expireds, internet leads. But at the end of the day, it's face-to-face. You need to know, like, and trust me. And then, I need to know what I'm talking about, bring value to the table. I need to know the market better than anybody, which is, for the record, I am a real estate data nerd. I probably do know the market better than most people, but that's intentional. Every morning I'm looking at the snapshot, what's active, what's pending, what's closed, what the trends are. I like the historical data. I can tell you what the best years were over the last 20 years. And, I can tell you in this moment where our inventory levels are, the cash ratios for each city. Condo market's found its footing. The luxury market's doing very well. It's pocket-like. That's why you need to know your market. And, I like that because, especially on the listing side, that data doesn't lie.
Yeah.
When you're talking to a seller, because that was a hard transition coming out of that COVID market for the next couple years where you dealt with a lot of unrealistic sellers.
True.
And you get a lot of agents that just want to take the listings. But guess what? There was a period of time where I think 70% of the listings over like a 6-month period didn't sell. It's just the market really cooled in that moment. But it comes back to us, the experts. We need to have those direct pricing conversations. And you know what? I guess you can think of it in terms of being a parent too. I don't need my kids to always like me, but I need them to know, like, or respect and trust me, right? And it's kind of the same in the sales world too.
Yeah, I highly, highly agree with you on the data and knowing the backing of everything, but also knowing the product too.
Yes.
And I want to get into that a little bit too, because I think some people with real estate, they kind of just list something. They don't really know what they're listing. They kind of just walk in and look at the pretty furniture. Is in this room a big room? That type of thing. I'm big on, because obviously being a builder too, I can walk in somewhere and be able to tell somebody the quality of the product that they're buying.
The details.
Right? And that's, I think, what I did it, and going back to when I was younger doing cars, stuff like that, like researching every aspect of what you're actually selling. I think that is so crucial in the real estate world too, because I don't think a lot of people take enough time to do that research. I think it's more of a throw a lockbox on the door and hope for the best, and buyer's going to walk in and they're going to buy it, and you just sit back and negotiate it. I've always been kind of that type, and I'm not saying everybody should do this, but I don't put the lockbox on. I like to be present. I like to talk about, and answer the questions that people have. And not some agents don't like that when they see me there, and they'd rather be alone, or, but I think with, like, especially in luxury real estate, there should be a presence, right?
Very common. Yeah.
And maybe not so much if you're selling a 1-bedroom condo. I mean, there's not much to talk about, but on the luxury end, or even selling a $1 million plus house, which is luxury end too, but common in Naples. it's important to know the product. So talk about that a little bit on what you're teaching your team and about that.
Yeah, the flip side of me being the data expert is, you're right, the product expert. I think it's important that you know the communities, the builders, the floor plans, the options, to walk into a house and see the extra things. Are these solid core doors, or upgraded appliance, Wolf Viking? Are they, LED landscape lighting package? Like all that stuff, it certainly adds up at the end of the day, right? And, we do our monthly meetings that we do generally in a new community. We've checked out a lot of the new construction projects down here, Halcyon, the one downtown Naples going in the Avenue. Make it a point to just keep going, educating ourselves. The Ritz-Carlton properties, the one up Salt Leaf and Estero Bay up there. I think the Pelican Bay we have next on our list. But yeah, like that plays into it for us, right? You got to know your market, but if you don't know the product, then you run into somebody on an airplane, like it just happened on my way home, and oh yeah, we're interested in Naples. We're kind of poking around, and to be able to find out what is interesting or of interest to them, and then if you have that product knowledge, well, have you considered this, or this? And that's just it should go without saying that we should know that stuff and be able to communicate it, but it's not always the case, and I just believe in a higher level of professionalism, and I expect our team to be the same way. I mean, there is a standard, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Talk about, and I know we've talked kind of in general what you should be doing in the real estate world, but why do you think most realtors fail? Why do you think?
Lack of consistency, for one. Misguided expectations of what the business is. It's funny. I was like, ooh, I just got my real estate license. I can work for myself. Yeah. All right. We're going to put in a couple hours, go to the beach or play a round of golf. And look, business is had on the golf course. I've had many good clients. You get 4 hours with somebody to build a relationship. Yeah. I'm not saying that's not a good way to do it, but in my 17 years of doing this and helping a lot of agents along the way find their success and footing, and not always finding the success for some. It is a two-way street. I can give you everything you need and then some to succeed, but at the end of the day, it's going to come back to that person. Maybe it's just not for them, and that's okay. I think if you're not a people person and able to have a conversation and make somebody comfortable and be genuine and showcase value and knowledge, you might not cut it. But at the end of the day, I think it's why I love how we do things. Most real estate professionals do not treat the business like a business. So one of the first things you're going to do meeting with me as you onboard with us is we're going to come up with a business plan. I want to know your personal and professional goals. We're going to correlate that to some strategies and priorities. Okay, you're going to farm Pelican Bay and be the go-to agent. All right, what are the 4 ways we're going to do that, and what are the strategies behind it? Does that mirror over to your calendar? Are you time blocking? Everything is intentional. If somebody comes to me and says, Adam, I'm struggling, I want to say, let me see your calendar. I want to know where you're spending your time. Truth of it is, we're just not structured enough and consistent enough to see the result, because real estate is that business, that work you're putting in today. One of my favorite quotes, the day you plant the seed is not the day you bear the fruit, right? Mm-hmm. So we're constantly having to put in the time, the effort, the energy, and that might be realized 6 months down the road. And I just think it's hard for people to trust the process and have the faith that if you do the right things, you will have success.
And that goes to say in every business. So yeah. What you just said, it's like if you put in the work, you're going to have the results. I mean, but I think going off of what you said too, I think it's important for that first time person that comes into real estate too, to get with somebody like yourself. It's critical. Somebody, it's huge.
The leadership is everything. And that there's a lot of great leaders in this market, but that is so crucial to your growth and success, because the biggest, going back to why do a lot of agents fail? Well, they go somewhere where they don't have that kind of support. There's companies that they're 100% models, for example, right? I used to be a part of one. Mm-hmm. And not to say it's right or wrong, everybody's different, but they're limited as to what they can provide to you. And real estate can be a very lonely business. And if someone's not there, the best thing any new realtor can do is either find a good company or good leadership, but find a mentor. Yeah. Companies aside, find a good mentor that, you can help kind of shadow, get your feet wet a little bit, understanding the dynamics and ins and outs of how we do things. It'll save you months and months of frustration, because they will really help that learning curve and get you moving. You know, there's a reason they say, I think the current stats, about 85% of realtors are out of the business after 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, turnover rate's high. You know, it's also a very saturated industry down here. You know, I think we're the second most populous state in terms of real estate licensees behind California, right? Like, but we do live in paradise. I can't blame them for wanting to get a license down in Florida. But, you know, at the same time, and especially for buyers and sellers, that's why it's important that they know who they're working with and ask some questions like, hey, have you sold property? You know, because gosh, we're dealing with someone's largest purchase or largest asset, and for them to not take the time to research or, you know, make sure that they're dealing with a quality professional, that's just one thing that always mind boggles me, I guess.
Going into what you said too, like with the 100% brokerage side of things, yes, it works for some people, and others though, I mean, I see the bright and shininess of it, of you're going to keep everything, this and that, that's great. But when you actually look at other brokerages like yourself, like, and what you're doing, and you're giving the coaching, the leadership, like giving the map, right?
Yeah.
Giving the plan, like the whole blueprint's laid out. This is what you have to do.
Right.
There's worth to that. There's value to that, right? And it's
tremendous value.
And I think more people need to realize that, like, you know, to give up a little, you know, you give up a little bit of what you're making, but you have to see what the return is on that investment. Right?
100% of zero is still zero.
Yeah.
You know, our brokerage operates almost as a team, and years of just experience with agents and brokerages and teams. You know, we've figured out not only setting you up the right way from the start with a business plan and having a clear path as to where you're supposed to go, but it's setting you up with the tools, systems, and leverage to really scale yourself into this business. You know, that you could spend hours on background stuff, YouTube, and as we know, right? Or the marketing or the Facebook page or your website or your CRM. You know, you get a new listing, all the different things you got to get ready, your real estate sign, the lockbox, inputting in the MLS. So the way we've kind of done it is we operate our brokerage almost as a team, to where you come here, you get everything. You have a marketing team, you have a transaction coordinator that's going to help you from contract to closing.
Huge, yeah.
You get a listing sign, they're going to help you with everything, because the only way we can teach people how to scale their business is to get back some of their time.
Yep.
You know, time is the most precious commodity. And is it the highest and best use of your time? We want you focused on the money-making activities, prospecting, out showing properties, building relationships, writing contracts. Everything beyond that, for the most part, can be delegated. And that's kind of the approach we've taken. You know, in a perfect world, our target agent is, you know, that 5 to 10 million. How do I get to 20? You know, because as a single agent, from my experience, anywhere from 25 to 35 transactions, depending on how efficient you are, that's kind of like the ceiling, to where unless you hire a VA or an assistant or somebody to help you, you kind of just hit that ceiling of, I can't possibly do any more business because it consumes all your time. So where do they go next? Well, and that's kind of the approach we have. Well, we teach you how to organize it the right way, leverage your business, get some time back, and, you know, to be able to take that next layer of growth.
I love it, man. I like I said, there's so much value in that too. And once people actually see it, you know, it's in what your return on that investment is. It's so critical too, because you do give them so much, and buying back the time is what really matters. It's in any business. That's the thing. It's like, you know, I talk to contractors all the time, and one of like I recently talked to one. He's a builder too, and we were talking about struggles, and one of the struggles was, and I told him right off the bat, I was like, you're doing everything. Like, and when you're doing everything, especially in any business, but in the construction business, it pulls you away from all the other things. Like, you have multiple clients, you're focused on one because you're up framing a roof when you should be the one managing the guy framing the roof. Like, I was like, that's a problem, man. Like, you gotta buy back, you know, it's like the book, buy back your time, right? And it's really critical, and especially in real estate, if you want to grow your business too. Like, I do real estate more on a part-time basis because this has always been my main focus. But, you know, it's like, I even see it too. Like, it's a lot. it's a lot what you guys do. Like there's a lot to it, especially nowadays too, with all the paperwork, the new things you got to do, you know, because things change. And it's just, there's so much time into it that if you don't have the right people backing you, like you're not going to have success at it, because you're not going to be able to focus on the other guy that's trying to buy a house, because you're focused on the deal that you're currently doing and you're absorbed with all the paperwork and everything too. So,
it's hard, man. That's Let Go to Grow, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a book too. Read that one. And that's what's important about having good leadership around you too, is, you know, you don't know what you don't know. Like I have a business coach. My partners all have business coaches. We mastermind a lot. I just came back from a week of some of the most brilliant masterminding at one of our conferences, and you know, you learn a lot. That's what I love about, I mean, life and business in general, is you never stop learning and growing and finding ways to become more efficient, more productive. And, you know, if you don't have those people around you recognizing the pain points, and actually working hands-on with one of our agents right now, and she's kind of at that point, like, I need, something's got to give. You know, she's giving all of her time and energy to her business. She has a family. It's stressing her out, and it doesn't have to be that way. Like, it's hard to let go. I get that. It's uncomfortable, but in the end, it'll be the best thing that agents do to kind of get out of your own way, and you'll realize things will be okay.
Yeah, Adam, man, this has been awesome. I knew having you on was going to be great when I first met you too, man. Keep doing what you're doing. The leadership, I can see the leadership. I respect the leadership too, and what you're doing, especially the growth you guys have had too. I mean, I know since we last talked too, it was probably a year ago, but it was, I know you've been killing it too. So appreciate you, man. And we'll definitely have to have you on again, because you're a world of knowledge, man.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's a lot of growth between now and the next one. But no, really love what we're doing. KW Elevate Luxury's got some good people, and you know, we're on a mission to change lives, to impact those in our world, and you know what, really going after that luxury market share here in Naples, Florida. So you know, we'll continue on our path. Keep showing up. That's it.
Love it, man. Thank you again, and you guys know the routine. If you missed the live on this one, go check it out on YouTube and also all podcast platforms too. We'll definitely have Adam back on again. With that being said, we'll see you guys on the next one. The Real Build is about building better culture, leaders, visionaries, community to better serve the client. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder, and I'm here to showcase real business owners building companies with integrity, trust, and a commitment to making a positive impact. Join us as we explore their stories, insights, and strategies for success. With that being said, welcome to The Real Build.